power and pursuit, he interjects baby Jesus. He interjects baby forgiveness, which in other words is giving away kingdom, giving away love when evil pursues you, and relying on true goodness, true love, true compassion, true mercy. Luke knows what he's talking about. He's being a physician even in a clinical message about a census and a baby. And he then turns his attention. He turns his attention unto the shepherds. Probably not well liked. They probably smell a certain way. They probably have to work really hard for their money. They're fringe shepherds. They make an honest living. They worked really hard for what they did, and yet they're sort of on the outside. The angels don't show up to a king. They don't show up in a palace. In fact, we'll read about the wise men later during Epiphany. The king is like, where and why do I not know about this Jesus? And so God is working on the fringes, working on the outskirts, and he's always working his way in to the poor places. And one of the Christmas messages for you and I is that God is always working his way into the poor places of our lives and our hearts, the spiritually poor places. And spiritually poor places are almost always places of pride, places of kingdom building where I want for me and I don't want to give away, places where I hold tight to what I think is mine, and instead of releasing freely to what I know ought to be God's. And that can be all manner of philosophies. It can be all manners of way of lives, and we certainly don't have time tonight to dig into this. And so I want you to sort of put another placeholder in your life tonight as you're here. Christmas Eve is really but just, this is a crass way to think about it, but how many of you like Pringles? Right? You know, I can only go so far. But Christmas Eve really is just to get your appetite wet. Every Christmas leads us to move towards the Easter reality of the things in us that might die, that we might embrace that which lives, to die. All wrongs ought to be made right. We ought to find that someone is going to come and make every of the angel Gabriel in her heart, trusting in God to lead her in the right direction. For those of you sort of history for where we've come from, our first Sunday in Advent is to